Did you know that UK taxpayers owe £1 trillion to private investors? The UK's sovereign government debt is really our debt, as we are the holders and guarantors of it, and it is our work and taxes that will have to pay it back, and the toil of future generations as well. Hard to imagine, isn't it? If we paid back £60 a minute, it would take 32,000 years to repay the capital alone, never mind the interest. Every household in Britain pays extra tax to pay the interest on that debt, £2,000 annually, for which we get nothing in return. We owe even more in personal debt. On average, UK families owe £56,000 and hand over £172 million in monthly interest payments. By 2015, our personal debts will be a staggering £2 trillion. In debt-ridden Britain, a house is repossessed every 15 minutes. Someone declares personal bankruptcy every 4 minutes. Last year, 8,500 people a month asked the Citizens Advice Bureau for debt crisis advice. Food banks doubled in number over the last 12 months, with people forced to turn to loan sharks and payday loan companies to pay for basics like food and rent. Young people have been frozen out of a housing market inflated by debt money, and now face sky-high rental prices as well. Bank bailouts, austerity, recession, the headlines never end. We are a nation struggling with a debt crisis. But why? Why do we owe all this money? And why can't the experts and the politicians sort it out? Well, politicians and economists are trying to patch together the existing financial system. This system is hopelessly flawed and cannot be repaired in its current form. It just lurches from one disaster to the next, taking us all with it. Mainstream economists ignore the nature of modern money and its influence on debt. Their textbooks are out of date and misleading, so their solutions are doomed to fail. And most of the general public share a fantasy about money creation as well, a fantasy that allows the true situation to remain unchallenged. We might call it the fairy tale of notes and coins. People imagine that modern money is much like money from days gone by, metal coins and paper notes created by the government via the Bank of England and the Royal Mint. People imagine that this government old-style money enters the economy by some official process and can then be earned and spent, and then some of it can be kept in a bank as savings. In the fairy tale, people see banks as neutral, a third party, the good guys, keeping their money safe in a vault somewhere and acting as intermediaries between savers and borrowers. But nothing could be further from the truth. Notes and coins make up just 3% of the money in circulation today. The remaining 97% of the money supply are just digital numbers, existing only inside the computer systems of private banks. Most people are astonished when we tell them this, but is it really so surprising? Nearly all of us use debit cards, credit cards, internet banking, direct debits and standing orders. None of these things require anybody to deal with notes and coins. Digital money is what powers the modern economy. But where does all that digital money come from? After all, money doesn't grow on trees, right? Well, digital money can only be created by a small cartel of private banks. The digital banking system belongs to them and has nothing to do with the government at all. Banks create digital money when they extend bank credit. Now, bank credit is simply another way of saying bank loans. When you go into a bank and ask for a loan, or buy something on a credit card, or take out a mortgage, the bank is not funding that loan with anyone's savings. They are instead creating brand new spending power balanced against your promise to pay it back. Let's take an example. Suppose a young couple want to buy a house. They need a loan of £100,000, so they approach a bank for the money. Now, where will the bank get the money for the loan? Most people assume that borrowers are given money that other people have saved, but this is not true. Incredible as it may seem to those who still believe in the fairy tale of old-style money, all a bank does when it grants a loan is to type two sets of numbers into a computer system. The first number credits the account of the borrower with the amount of the loan, in this case the £100,000 the couple needs for the house. The second number adds a corresponding debt in the borrower's account, noting the interest that will be charged on the loan. Now, armed with their new bank credit, the young couple go and buy the house they need to live in. The young couple now have a home, and of course a huge debt they will be paying for decades. The seller of the house has the £100,000 of new bank credit which they are free to spend into the economy. But the bank, which created the money out of nothing, now has a valuable asset, an agreement from the borrower to repay all the money, plus the agreed rate of interest. Incredible, isn't it? New money created solely at the whim of a private company, free of charge, who then get to keep all the interest that is paid on it. It's legal, it's a simple accounting trick, and it works like this. When a bank credits an account with the amount of a loan, this is called the bank's liability, what the bank has to pay the borrower. The loan agreement signed by the borrower promises to pay the capital of the loan back, with interest over a period of time, and this is called the bank's asset. As long as the bank can find someone to sign a loan agreement, they are free to create a matching liability, the digital numbers of the loan, free of charge, out of nothing. You are then free to spend those digital numbers into the economy. And that is how 97% of the money we spend in the UK is created, and why banks always have the tallest buildings in town. This is why Martin Wolf, the chief economics editor of the Financial Times, said, "The essence of the contemporary money system is the creation of money out of nothing by private banks, often foolish lending." So what are the problems with allowing private banks to create our money supply out of nothing when they extend loans? Here are 5 key issues. Firstly, the money is created as debt. For every pound of credit in an account, 97 pence of it must come from someone else being in debit. This system guarantees perpetual and ever-increasing debt. This system is inherently unstable, creating endless booms and busts. Banks lend too much money into existence when times are good, distorting the market, but then refuse to lend when people's capacity to borrow is gone, and the economic bubbles burst, leaving us to pick up the pieces and the bill for failed banks. Democracy is sidestepped, as economic policy is now controlled by the loans banks make. They control how much money enters the economy and what that money can be spent on. Banks don't even direct the debt money they create to productive purposes, preferring to speculate on financial markets, property and consumer spending. Only 8% of their lending goes to productive businesses, and this is a huge problem for the economy and society. And of course, last but not least, we pay interest on this digital debt money, meaning we effectively have to rent our own currency from a private monopoly. Very few people are aware of the realities and the problems of modern money, but awareness is growing. Check out the resources on our website, Money Without Debt, and those of our friends over at positivemoney.org.uk. Educate yourselves, then join the campaign for a better system of money, one that supports productive business and the national interest, instead of the greed and profiteering of a protected monopoly.